Spring is definitely here. The daffodils have already been out for some time and are starting to die back. And just about everything else is now just ready to start flourishing. But if you've been like me, working hard, and you haven't even thought about doing anything in the garden so far this year, you're not on your own. But it is the bank holiday, it's the Easter weekend, so I think it's time to see if I can cut the grass, tidy things up, and sow some seeds. Things have been so busy here at the Proper DIY HQ that March just flashed by, so I do feel a month behind this year. And suddenly Easter is with us, so time to dust off the Kensington and get the grass cut before it grows too long and then becomes a problem. So this has sat in my workshop untouched since maybe October, I would think. It's the last time I cut the grass. I'm obviously going to change the oil, and I've not even changed the petrol. So many people telling me the petrol only lasts 3 months. Well, let's see, shall we? So this is the first start since maybe October, if I can remember how to start it. A bit of that and a bit of that. Let's see, first in a number of months. Okay, it's not looking hopeful, is it? Okay. Not first time. But not too bad, eh? Well, as long as it starts, I'll take that as a result. I always find the first cut of the season somewhat disappointing, because as you're cutting you realise that all the work you put into the lawn the last summer seems to have now just disappeared. Worm casts make it lumpy and patchy, weeds have had many autumn and winter months to take hold again, and it just seems that you're back to square one with a ragged, unkept lump of grass. Anyway, I know that it can look good again with a little bit of care and attention, but today the aim is just to bring it down to level before it gets too long to mow. Because the grass is long, I'm finding that the front roller is pushing it down, so the cutting cylinder is missing the longer grass. So I decide to swap the front roller with the auxiliary wheels that came with the machine. These sit on either side, leaving the centre section of the cylinder fully open to the grass, which does help to cut a longer lawn. What they don't do is to help with the striping of the lawn, but today that really isn't important. Just getting the grass to length is the main aim. I immediately notice a difference, and the fact that the mower is cutting better without the front roller. But at the same time, it also means that I'm having to empty the grass box a lot more often. One area that you haven't seen me cut yet is the paddock, and for this I use a petrol rotary mower. So same again, I haven't started this since maybe September, October last year, and all the petrol is over 3 months old. It reminds me, if anyone's got petrol over 3 months old, I'll take it off your hands for free. This time I give the machine a few pulls just to make sure there's petrol in the carburettor before I even try starting it. But then I take the choke off too quickly. I use this rotary mower as it will rip through anything underneath it, which is exactly what I need it to do here in the paddock with the longer grass. My aim here is to create an area of traditional cut grass and also corridors and islands of uncut wildflower areas, which will give interest to the area and some colour once I put some plants and seeded them with some wildflowers. Having these uncut areas also means I reduce the area that I need to mow just by a little. So as I said, one thing that I feel a little bit behind with this year is sowing seeds. I haven't sown anything yet, and last year I was sowing them inside from February onwards, so now it's April. I feel like I'm a little bit behind, but I don't think it's going to matter. What I found last year was, although the seeds got going early, because the weather wasn't good enough outside, there was that sort of period where I was trying to keep them going inside, and it didn't really work so well. So maybe this year it'll work out a little bit better. And what I'm going to be sowing today is both some sort of vegetable type lettuce and courgettes, but also where I've just been mowing, there's a couple of those islands, those sort of wildflower islands, where my wife is quite keen on getting something white in there. So she's picked these oxeye daisy, which is like quite a large daisy, and some gypsophilia, which I've never grown before, and according to the back should actually go straight in where you want it outdoors. But I haven't got anything ready yet at all, so I'm not really sure where I want it, but wherever I want it isn't ready. So I'm going to sow that indoors. I'm sure it'll be okay, and when I get somewhere outdoors then I'll just plant it up. As I said, I've got different kinds of lettuce to sow and courgettes, which went really well last year. I had loads and loads of courgettes all summer long, so I'm intending to do that again next year. Right, so let's get some of this potting mix into these trays and get some of these sown. I'm not actually using the compost I want here. I really want it a lot finer, one designed for seeds. But all the shops are closed for Easter, so at the moment I'll just have to make do. Although this compost is quite moist, after sowing I'll also give the trays a water just to bed the seeds in. These are really quite fine seeds. So I'm hoping for quite a lot of these to germinate. I need quite a lot because the border that I want to put them in will accept as many as I've got, I think, really. More than happy to create quite a lot of seedlings out of this. Now, the other thing that I have learned is the finer the seed, the less material you want over them. In fact, some seeds you don't want to put any material over them at all. So I really want some fine soil, and really this is where the potting mix comes in rather than this slightly heavier mix that I've got. But anyway, let's just see. These daisies are perennials, so once in the ground they should come up year after year, hopefully. So with that in a propagator where we're not going to lose the moisture, I think that'd be absolutely fine. Where's my... I then move on to sowing the gypsophilia. These are a lot harder because they're the same colour as the compost, like a brown burnt orange, which means you can have no idea where they've already gone. So I think the best I can do is to try to make them, space them out as best I can. So these are the ones that you're supposed to put in straight into the ground. So I hope they don't mind my kitchen instead. Well, they shouldn't really, should they? They're going to get a lot more care and attention in my kitchen for the next month than out in the field, I think. Right. Twig. Monty Don doesn't have this sort of problem. Right, that's the next one done. Quick label. Gypsophilia. How do you spell gypsophilia? Got it. Gypsophilia. Excuse me while I just copy the label here. Spelling has never been my thing. Last up, I use a bigger tray to sow some courgettes and lettuce. Now this is a lot easier to see what you're doing here. Now I realise I don't actually need many of these because you only need a couple of courgette plants to give you quite a lot of courgettes. So what am I talking about there? There's 4 there. 5. Maybe 1 for luck. There you go. 6. So the last thing I'm going to sow today, because it's getting a bit late, and I think I've done enough in the garden to earn a glass of wine. The last thing I'm going to sow is mixed lettuce, which worked out really well last year, and I kept picking and picking and picking, and yeah, I'm looking forward to more of the same. So with the compost and the trays and everything else, I probably spent £50, and it means that I can save £2.50 on lettuce over the summer. But it's fun doing it. Now I've got some left there which I'll sow later in the year, because whatever you do to this, after a bit they go to seed and you're going to have to throw them away. So these will probably last, I don't know, maybe 6 weeks, 8 weeks, something like that. So in a month's time I'll probably sow some more. So I've got that continued crop all the way through the summer. So that will go on my shelf in the kitchen, the one that I made last year. South facing window, it'll be nice and warm, nice and moist, and I'm sure in the next week or two I'll get plenty of action. I will keep you updated, and hopefully in a month's time, 6 weeks time, you'll see me putting these out in the garden. I hope you've enjoyed this garden series episode. Have a really good Easter break, and I will see you next time.